Mike Otranto, and I'm a strategic account specialist at Microsoft. I'm also joined today with Jim Patterson, who leads in the business development role, and Matt Wiley, our product and technology expert. Today, we'll focus on Microsoft Agile portfolio management solution, mainly how Project Online and Visual Studio Team Services work better together. After the webinar, you will receive an email with a copy of the recording and the slide deck so you can review. The line will not be open for questions, but you can type in your questions via the chat feature. So if you want to know more about Microsoft and who we are today, we are a Microsoft joint venture that was founded in 2002. We provide consulting, business process outsourcing, managed services, and global support for staffing. We are a triple gold certified Microsoft partner. Less than 1% of partners ever have that designation. We are certified in project portfolio management, collaboration and content, and cloud productivity. From a project and portfolio management standpoint, we have a deep expertise in Project Online and Project Server. So we have a lot of experience helping organizations maximize their efficiency and technological advantage. We have a footprint all over North America and internationally. I will now hand off the webcast to Jim Patterson. Jim?
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate the introduction. Welcome, everybody. And we're excited to present to you today's topic, Microsoft Agile Portfolio Management Solution using Project Online and Visual Studio Team Services. To that end today, we're going to talk about some current trends and how PPM has evolved and is evolving. We'll talk about a little bit about the state of Agile in the marketplace today, and really then get into more hybrid models and what those benefits are to actually incorporating those hybrid models into your organizations. Then we'll talk about connecting Project Online to Visual Studio Team Services for that execution and a solution to manifest that hybrid model. And we'll spend a good chunk of our time demonstrating that solution live with Matt Wiley. And then we'll have some summary and wrap up, and please stick around because we'll have some offers for you at the end as well. With that, let's get started. So let's talk about this PPM evolution and what we mean by that. And at a high level, it's really about technology and the rise of that technology and the fact that even what we used to consider non-tech businesses are truly becoming software companies, and software is becoming what differentiates these from the rest of their competitors in the marketplace. You know, brick and mortar companies like department stores have become the Amazons. The Blockbuster Video, where we used to wait in lines, has now become the online streaming Netflix. Even transportation, we used to take taxi cabs to become Uber and Lyft, and even getting soft drinks at a fast food store has become a computerized exercise for us. And in that end, these companies that are in these markets need to deliver and differentiate themselves by the quality and the, let's just say, currency of taking advantage of available technologies and the business opportunities they represent. It really brings about changes at every part of the organization, whether it be the executives that have to come up with the strategies and where they're going in the marketplace, the PMOs that now have to manage the whole roster of projects, whether it's more traditional infrastructure construction type of projects, but more and more technology type of projects coming in using different methodologies. Software developers that are using new tools and techniques and need to become more agile in order to deliver and meet the demands of the marketplace. And then in turn, once we develop these things, we have to be able to support them as an organization. So all in all, the PMO and the impact on PPM, or project and portfolio management, has been very profound. So if we look at this and how the state of Agile and what this technology brings to bear is that, given the fact that there's so much technology influencing all types of industries, even what was considered more low-tech type of industries, what's really interesting is that version 1 annually does a state of Agile survey that basically keeps a finger on the pulse of Agile and its proliferation and use in the marketplace. And the adoption is definitely on the rise. As recently as 2016, the number of organizations actually practicing Agile somewhere in their organization has gotten up to 94% of all organizations, up from 80% in 2011, and the trend keeps on increasing. The idea here is that while organizations may not adopt Agile fully across the board, it is being done in certain places, and that number is growing steadily as we go on through. And I think they're currently collecting information for the most recent survey this year. Now, on top of that, there's also traditional thought processes within organizations that wonders whether or not we should go fully agile. And sometimes the purists in the agile world think that everything can be done in an agile fashion. And some pragmatists will basically say that there's a place for both traditional, more waterfall types of approaches to project management as well as agile approaches. When you look at PMI's document and publication on capturing the value of project management through organizational agility, they came to the conclusion that smart organizations realize that using agile techniques such as Scrum or DevOps is not the only or even the best indicator of an organization's speed or flexibility. They're saying that most organizations are more likely to use several different project management approaches, and to be agile, they have to find effective ways to blend those within the organization so that they have the right approaches for all the different types of work that are going on. Now, what that means today is that a lot of organizations have a proliferation of tools, systems, and processes. And oftentimes they're, let's just say, organized or implemented around different types of work. In the middle, you can look at these silos as a graphical kind of depiction of the silos of information. But project management systems, things like Microsoft Project and Project Online, are things that have been traditionally used to manage projects and portfolios in more of that traditional waterfall type of sense and governance type of approach. But as we get more into software type of projects and even new technology and new product development, folks are more and more gravitating towards the more agile approaches. And on the application management side on the right, using tools like Visual Studio and Visual Studio Team Services and Jira and version 1 that are more dedicated towards that agile approach. People are using those types of tools because it's more closely aligned with the way and the methods they want to use to actually execute. And then there's more unstructured work, things like service management. It's not part of our topic today, but just for illustration, the service management tools like Microsoft Dynamics and Salesforce Service Cloud and ServiceNow, another big one on the horizon, is really using IT service management and other service management techniques for more of that unstructured work. So when resources get assigned work, whether we're on projects or we're on applications or we get tickets or incidents, we now have to look at 3 or 4 or 5 different systems, possibly some spreadsheets that people are using to manage other types of work. And we have to monitor all those things and prioritize across that. It's really kind of a confusing and more disconnected approach to actually doing work. So the challenges are, how do we prioritize this stuff? How do we work on this stuff cross-functionally within our organizations? Is there confusion? Is there any alignment to the prioritization of what we work on first, given all these different types of work? And then we have highly manual processes to do things like mashing up these things for reports and things like that. The idea is there's a lot of navigation through this maze in order to be effective in your organization. And how that manifests itself is really it puts together barriers for us. Can your organization afford this wall, not only between us and our customers, but between us and our different functional areas within our companies? Things like low response times and information silos, confused and unhappy employees that can result in high turnover. And just ineffective ways of working means we become less competitive and less customer satisfaction out there. The idea is if we don't resolve or take this disconnection and bring it together a little better, our organizations won't perform at its best. So what are some of the benefits of a hybrid model of different types of project management, different types of work? Well, if you look to the Gartner group, in early 2015, they coined the term bimodal. And in bimodal, they meant the practice of managing 2 separate coherent modes of delivery, one focused on stability and the other focused on agility, meaning there's different modes that are appropriate for different aspects or different types of work within an organization. Mode 1 being a more linear approach and more traditional, more of a PPM governance-driven type of approach, has the analogy of a marathon runner, kind of steady as she goes, projects with longer cycle times and phases using more waterfall types of approaches. Where mode 2 is really a more non-linear approaches, more iterative, emphasizing agility and speed and be able to respond to change and manage uncertainty. The analogy there is more of a sprinter, things with shorter cycle times and more iterative-based development and delivery, using things like Agile, Scrum, Lean, Kanban types of approaches. And the key is that many organizations and the pragmatists are saying that there's a place for both of these and they need to work well together. So some of the let's just say, symptoms of disconnected systems and teams that are out there. If you look at PPM and the needs of a PMO within an organization, oftentimes because of these different team-based Agile tools that are floating around the organization, Agile is a little bit of a black hole, meaning to the PMO, they don't have necessarily a dynamic visibility into the deliverables when teams are using Agile, and how it's difficult for them to mash up the data with other projects to provide a holistic portfolio to leadership and understand where the state of all their investments are within this portfolio, let alone being able to apply a CapEx and OpEx to Agile projects. On the Agile side of things, they went Agile for a reason. PPM in estimation, sometimes the perception is it's overhead, it's slowing them down, right? We became Agile because we wanted to be quick and responsive and do things more on an iterative basis. And the idea there is that oftentimes the use of a PPM or governance-driven process sometimes requires these folks to actually do duplicate entry so they can feed up reporting to leadership, to the PMO, report time in multiple places and status. And the idea is that oftentimes can make them less effective than they could be using the methodologies that they've chosen. So really the challenge is, how do we find the right balance in all this? We have to have enough governance, visibility, insight, alignment, and control to make sure that we're working on the right things and provide visibility to leadership so that we can get funding and make them comfortable that their investments are tracking well. But we also have to have enough agility so that we can innovate and be competitive in the marketplace, have good time to market so we can beat our competition to the street, and also be responsive to change because things are changing at a rapid pace in this technology-driven environment. So in our case that we're going to talk about today, unified PPM and Agile solution, there's no reason to have separate portfolios for these types of work. The idea is you can have portfolios that have different programs or product lines and have different teams working on different projects, more traditional waterfall, more Agile and Agile variations of that, all within the same portfolio, but yet have the latitude to work with the execution tools at a very detailed level that are more suited and more appropriate to the type of work that they're doing. So what we're going to show you today, one of the aspects of that is really business strategy tied to work execution, making sure we're working on the right things and then using the right tools to execute. If we look at that blue bar across the top, it really represents what is provided by Microsoft's Project Online as a full-featured project and portfolio management solution, all the way from ideation and demand management through the portfolio management exercises, as well as all the execution pieces that you'll have and reporting throughout that process. Now, natively, if you're using waterfall projects, Microsoft Project and Project Web Access, which is native to Project Online, were the tools that are sufficient to do those. They do a very good job of those. But where it fell down in the past was when people wanted to use more agile approaches. Now, a little bit of a news flash, late last year, Microsoft actually added some light agile capabilities into Microsoft Project Professional around the November timeframe. And we'll show you some of that today. But in the meantime, a lot of folks have adopted agile tools, whether it be things like Visual Studio that we're going to show you today, or Jira, etc. And the idea is that you can manage a holistic portfolio of projects in Project Online. But if you want to use tools like Visual Studio and Visual Studio Team Services to execute on those projects, that's perfectly fine. With Microsoft's One Connect, which is an integration platform in the Microsoft Cloud, it actually seamlessly connects your portfolio level information and Project Online with the execution tools of your choice. In this case, we'll talk about Visual Studio today. So that's part of the story that we're going to give you today and how that can all work together and give you the power of choice and a better together kind of story. So we're going to show you some of the new Microsoft Project Agile features. There are now templates in Microsoft Project Professional in the latest version in 2016. And the idea is that there's templates for Scrum and more flow-based Kanban type of projects in addition to the waterfall projects. And Matt Willey is going to show you some of those things. But the idea being you have a portfolio of projects and you may choose to use a more waterfall approach, or you may choose to use a light agile type of approach within Microsoft Project itself, giving you some flexibility right within the native tool. And in this case, you can do things like structure sprint schedules and cadences on how you're going to deliver your iterations, build backlogs, and then allocate them to those sprints, and then through a process of how they're, whether they're in progress or done or not. And the idea is that you're going to get into some of this stuff in the demonstration today. But the key is all the project and portfolio management, the financial management, resource capacity planning, even the investment approval and intake process still happens in the portfolio management solution. It's just a different choice on how you're going to execute on the details. Now, the exciting part, I think, is there's a lot of folks who are using more robust software development environments and things like Visual Studio. And today they're taking advantage of the robust capabilities for Agile at the team and project level, but really are lacking some portfolio management capabilities that kind of bring that to the mix and provide the summary information and KPIs and metrics up to leadership. And in this case, Project Online at the top really is, as we said before, the program and portfolio management solution, place for intake and investment approval and business cases, financial and capacity planning, etc. But then when it comes time to execute, Wickersoft's One Connect allows you to just say, I want to plan this in Visual Studio Team Services, and you can go out and then execute on that in an agile fashion and have the relevant data feed seamlessly back into Project Online. And we'll show you that in action. Now, why would we want to do that? One is the portfolio management aspects. We talked about silos earlier on. To have one intake and one governance and approval and investment process in an organization, regardless of how the project's going to be executed. Project requests and ideas can come in, they can be evaluated, business cases can be created. You can even do optimization on those things within the tool set to find out what are the right or the best things and the best return for the organization to be working on. And the idea this can include both agile and non-agile projects alike. We also have the opportunity when we do this to have more holistic resource capacity planning. So instead of having silos of information where you just have a subset of resource demand in your, say, traditional PPM and waterfall solution, and another one in your agile solution, and even another one in your service management solution, being able to bring that data together so you have a holistic view of all work. And all of that may not be project management type of work. There may be other things pulling from the capacity of our people that basically limit our ability to actually deliver project work. And then on a time management perspective, instead of having to status your work in two different places, in this case, using Visual Studio Team Services right in the work items that you're working on, be able to put actual work in progress in there and have it seamlessly feed back to a timesheet is something that's a benefit and eliminates the duplicate entry that I mentioned earlier on that often happens when we have silos and multiple systems that are doing duplicate things and overlapping things in many cases. And then one of the big time savers is really on the reporting side. When you have different spreadsheets and tools doing different things, the manual exercise or semi-manual exercise of mashing all that data together and then providing a holistic picture in an accurate way, that goes away with the scenario that we're actually proposing or to show you today. Looking at a holistic portfolio, common metrics that leadership is used to seeing, but still having the more agile metrics for the agile teams that want to take those types of approaches. The idea is that that's a big benefit of bringing these systems together in a effective way. So with that, hopefully we teed up the concepts for you sufficiently. Now we'd like to get to the meat of this and show you this active and live in a demonstration of the solution. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Matt Willey.
Thank you, Jim. All right, I'm logged in here into Project Online. Project Online is part of Office 365. It's just one of the many different apps that all tie together into the Office 365 experience. And what we're looking at here is a list of all of my different projects. So this is my one place, my one version of the truth to see all the projects that are going on, the status of those projects. So I have some KPIs, red, yellow, green light indicators here for around overall health and work health, schedule health, etc. And I also have a high-level timeline or roadmap view of these things, so I can see when they're planning to happen and how much we've progressed on them, so on and so forth. But behind this starts to get into what Jim was talking about, how we can go and execute this in multiple different ways. But the way the process works, things come in a requested state. So we start out with an idea or a request, and it's going to flow its way through the system. And there's a full portfolio analysis module to allow you to do what-if scenarios around cost and resources to optimize your portfolio and figure out how we can get the most benefit for the dollars and the resources that we're going to use on these different projects. And or you can run through a series of approvals to get to an approved project. But once that project becomes approved, we may want to go execute on it in one or more ways. And so traditionally you would come in, you would select your project here, and I would say, I want to open this up in Microsoft Project or in the online waterfall planner right here within Project Online. And you could build your schedule that way. And that's really great for a lot of different types of projects. Recently, though, there's actually a new feature that Jim mentioned, which allows you to actually do some lightweight agile planning right within Project Desktop. So if I was to say open in Project Desktop, pops open project for that particular project within Project Online. And I can actually come in and build out a backlog of items, as you can see here. And so here are the different things that I want to do. I can do some sprint planning and drag and drop those into a particular sprint, and maybe a few things are going into sprint 2, and as my backlog fills up, I can kind of keep planning there. Then I can go into my current sprint board and see those items that I planned into sprint 1, which is my current sprint, and I can update status. This is the next up area here. This guy's in progress. This one's been completed, and just drag and drop to update status. So there's some Kanban boards built into this, and you can use either the Scrum methodology where you plan sprints first, or you can just go straight Kanban. You can skip past the sprint part and just line things up in priority order and use the Kanban boards to update status. And when you save and when you publish, that all flows back into Project Online. So there's some really cool new features here available as we speak in Project Professional 2016. But let's say you're already using another tool, something like a Visual Studio Team Services. We can also connect to Jira and other Agile tools, by the way, as well. But today, let's imagine we're using VSTS, or the on-prem version of that is TFS, Team Foundation Server, if you're more familiar with that. And I can come in and I can select my project. Instead of saying I want to open it in Microsoft Project or the online planner within Project Online, I'm going to say I want to open this up in VSTS. When I do that, it will create this project over in VSTS, if it hasn't already been created and linked together. If it already exists and those are already linked together, then it's just going to link me over here. So it gives me a quick, easy way to come get into this project. And just like I went into Project Desktop and I started building out my backlog and then planning things into sprints and updating status, I can do that all here. So I can plan out my different epics, and I might break those down into different features, down into user stories, tasks, and bugs and such. I can then drag and drop those items into a particular sprint or iteration, and to say, here's when I think I'm going to be able to get this done. And then I can utilize the Kanban board to update status of those items. You'll see I've also assigned these things to people, or they can pick them up as they get ready to work on the next thing. And then you can also put in estimates of effort. Here it's in hours, but you could also do it in points, or you could do both. And say, also, I spent 10 hours working on this particular item, so I can put in my time, my time sheet, so to say, for this. As you do that, as you're building out your backlog and planning these things into sprints and assigning people and updating status and updating estimates of effort and actual effort spent, we can, on a timer, every hour, every night, however often you want, send that information over back into Project Online. Or very similar to like Project Desktop, I can come in and say publish. And when I hit publish on demand, it will take that information and push it back into Project Online and give me a little bit more control of when that's going to happen, when I'm ready to publish my status back. So once I do that, jumping back on into Project Online, let's take a look at what that looks like, how that comes in and what that does for us. So I just jumped into that same project here, and you can see just by setting up some different views, we can look at things in very similar ways to what we see over in Visual Studio Team Services, or TFS. So for example, here you see my epics broken down into features, into stories, and then the different tasks and bugs below that. And then some estimates of start and finish dates based off of the sprint that I put that in, percent complete as we start to update remaining work and things like that, and update our status there and who's assigned. And so this helps with the problem that Jim was talking about earlier, the black hole. I throw things into the black hole. As the PMO, I'm saying, here, can you do these things for me, Agile teams? And they go, yeah, sure. And eventually something pops out and I go, yeah, that's great. But this helps me to get visibility into that, to see, what things are coming up, what's the status, and really better understand, what's going on there. And then I can look at it different ways. Let's say, for example, I want to group this by sprint. And so I want to see, what's in sprint 1, what's in sprint 2, so on and so forth. So you can see here are the things that are planned into each sprint. So there's a lot of different ways that you can look at this, but the basics is we're pulling back that information so we can get better visibility into status. Area number 2 is really around resources. So if you have people assigned to work over in VSTS or TFS, and you have people assigned to work over in Project Online, it can be really hard to understand across my pool of resources, let's say the IT organization or the organization as a whole, who's working on what, who has capacity, who's over allocated. Those questions can be difficult to answer, and a lot of times people have spreadsheets or other things to try to answer those questions, and that can be very hard to maintain. Here, if I come in, I can go into my capacity planning view for any group of resources here, and I can see all the different things that they're working on, and if they're over allocated, they show up in red. If they're under allocated, they show up in blue. If they're being utilized properly, so not too far over or under, then they show up in green. And you can see here, Amy's working on 3 different projects. Some people are working on operational work, like Lisa's working on the partner help desk, and that may be more of, operation, kind of keep the lights on things that could be coming out of a service management system. As well as some people could be working on waterfall projects, and that all flows together so we can better understand across all of this work, who's available, who's not, and where we can spread things out better. The third piece of this, so far we've had status, we've had the resourcing around it. The third piece is time. A lot of times we want a central place where all the time can flow into that may then be integrated into your financial system to go and then generate actual costs and such, like an SAP or Oracle or something like that. But then that time can automatically flow back into my timesheet here from VSTS. So I only had to enter it once. It automatically comes over here. If there's anything else I worked on, waterfall tasks, or maybe I need to put in some admin time or some sick vacation time, things that aren't tracked over in our Agile tool, then I could come and put these in, save and submit my timesheet and be good to go. There's actually an auto submit option as well. So if people are only working on Agile work and they don't need to put any of that else in, we can auto submit it for them and have that go through and still go through one consistent process and have one timesheet system instead of multiples, and not require people, most importantly, to do duplicate entry. We all know it's hard enough to get people to do their timesheet once, let alone twice. It can be really, really challenging to make sure that happens and then therefore get good data out of it. So, bringing it all back, when we're looking at this portfolio of projects, it's not just our waterfall ones, it's not just our Agile ones, we can actually do hybrid ones as well. Each one of these different projects might be executed on in a different way using a different tool, but we can roll it back so we still have that one place to go. And then we can take that and roll it up into reports. And once it's in reports, we can be a little bit more analytical and look at things in lots of different ways. So I just popped into Power BI here. Power BI is another app within Office 365, super cool app. If you haven't used it yet, definitely check it out. But what it allows you to do is to connect up to lots of different sources, including Project Online and VSTS, and we can do some really rich, robust reports. And so the dashboard I'm looking at here is what we call our Agile PPM portfolio dashboard. On the left-hand side, I see things like portfolio cost and risk and ROI, more traditional waterfall types of metrics. But the cool part is it's actually my waterfall and my Agile projects all mixed together. So this cost is the total cost of my total portfolio of all projects, both waterfall and Agile. And I have project status and more things here. On the right-hand side, though, I can also do more traditional Agile types of metrics like sprint burnups or burn downs, bug trends over time, queue and flow diagrams of user stories, etc. As well as look at those resources across all of this. So as a manager, let's say I'm a manager that oversees a portfolio of projects that has both Agile and waterfall types of projects, instead of having to go to 2 different systems to see the different reports and then trying to manually mush those things together to provide status up to leadership, I can instead come to a dashboard like this, get everything I need in one place, and if I want more information, I just simply click on one of these items to drill in, and I can drill down into as much detail as I want. If I want to get more down into cost details, or if I want to get more down into schedule details or risks or issues that are going on with these projects, I can do that all right from here just by clicking in and drilling into the particular pieces of information I want. For example, on the cost side of things, this is showing budget versus actual cost by quarter. I could then drill down into it by month and get down even down into by day if we're tracking at that level, so on and so forth, or drill into that time, whatever it might be that I want to do, go drill down into those details if and when I need to do so as well. So at the end of the day, we can allow you to do your intake and your portfolio management, all the top-down planning in Project Online. We can go execute on multiple tools and then bring that all together in a meaningful way so that we can report on it and get visibility into what's going on without having to do a lot of manual work to bring all that information together. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Jim for just a few more slides and a wrap up, and then we'll let you guys go for the day.
Thank you, Matthew. Let me get back to sharing my screen. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see my slides. Let's get into that summary and wrap up that Matthew was talking about. So with OneConnect for Project Online from Wickersoft, we showed you one use case with Visual Studio today. But please know that this integration platform in the cloud can be leveraged for other use cases for different types of work, whether it be different Agile tools, whether it be your CRM tools, say if opportunity management becomes your projects as it feeds in, ITSM work like ServiceNow or Service Cloud that brings in that type of workload from a resource perspective, and even your ERP, finance, and HR systems, which are integral to many PPM processes as we go on through. So the idea, be aware that there are more use cases beyond what we showed you today. And then just the overall value of integration. Why would we want to do this? Well, one is to bring improved portfolio alignment to your organizational goals and objectives and include all types of projects in that mix. And also to provide a very robust PPM solution that can integrate all work and resources into a single view without you having to manually mash that up. And Project Connect, or OneConnect, brings that quickly and reliably together so that disparate business systems are now working together in harmony. One of the benefits on that is the holistic view of resource availability and efficiency, as Matthew showed you. And it really allows us just for better forecasting, both from a resource, a schedule, and a cost perspective, and set more realistic expectations and, let's just say, more high confidence commitments for the organization. And overall, just having a single governance process for planning, executing, and reporting across all types of projects. So the value of hybrid project management is, one is, it keeps users working in their primary and preferred tools. For example, in that Visual Studio team services example, if an organization or parts of the organization have already adapted and invested into that, trying to get them to relinquish that can be a battle that you don't need to fight. The idea is that keep them in their preferred tools and solution, but meet the needs of the organization by getting that information automatically fed for reporting and portfolio roll-ups. It also allows users to work in the tools appropriate for their role and maturity. So if people don't need to be in the portfolio or be in the portfolio management solution, they can be in the execution tools based upon their role. This will help improve adoption by minimizing unnecessary complexity and giving people capabilities that they have to navigate through that they don't really need to use. Overall, it's going to drive a better user experience, which is going to give you better participation and compliance, meaning more complete data. Overall, just better collaboration across all areas of the business and help reduce or eliminate those barriers we talked about earlier in the concepts that when we went through the slides. So a little bit about Wickersoft and how we can help with this. We actually deliver these solutions actively to people every day. You know, we are a global company. We do have triple gold certifications in project and portfolio management, collaboration and content, and cloud productivity, as well as on the Partner Advisory Council for Microsoft as far as getting input into future versions of the product and early understanding of where they're going with the technology so we can help lead their customers in the right direction, our clients in the right direction. To that end, we're a full one-stop shop, whether it be the applications and value-added things that we have, whether we implement the Microsoft solutions or the value-added things like OneConnect. We provide all the consulting services, education, and training. And if you're short on staffing or skill sets in the organization, we provide staffing service and managed services to help you get through that. And on top of that, we really handle all of the Microsoft Cloud platforms. Today, we talked about just two of these pillars, Microsoft Project and Project Online and Project and Portfolio Management. And we talked about Visual Studio with Agile Portfolio Management. But leveraging work management from an overall digital workplace in SharePoint or in Dynamics 365 with professional services automation and field service management, all of this stuff is happening in the cloud, and really there's different variations of handling work management within an organization. So all types of work. And having that stuff rendered through the Microsoft Cloud and providing good, robust reporting and analytics through Power BI. So please keep us in mind if you have needs in this area. To that end, for next steps, we do have some offers for you. If you're interested in what you saw today, we're happy to do a free assessment and roadmap what it would take to get you from your current state into the current solution as a first step. Also, if you want to get hands-on with this, we can actually provide you with a chaperone trial. We can get you a Project Online trial environment, potentially looking at this thing, working with VSTS as well, and then provide Wickersoft chaperone support through that trial process so you're not on your own doing trial and error. And we're happy to do that at no charge. If you also saw a more generalized demo today and have more specific needs in your organization, we're happy to schedule a personal one-on-one demo for you and the others in your organization. And if so, just contact us at any one of these email addresses below. The folks that are involved here, or general NA sales at wickersoft.com, which is North America sales. You'll be getting these slides, so you don't have to take copious notes. And then I'd just like to thank you for your time today. There's a lot of other rich information at us.wickersoft.com, or we have another site, project-online.com, for more on Project Online specific information, and one connect at us.wickersoft.com/projectconnect. And if you really like what you heard here today or interested in our ongoing webinars, we have a whole library of on-demand webinars, which is a history of ones we've already done that you can actually listen to and watch on demand, or upcoming webinars that you can register for. Just go to us.wickersoft.com/webinars. With that, I'd just like to thank you for carving out some of your valuable time for us today, and hopefully you found the time well spent. Thank you and have a great day.